And we are live. So, welcome to episode 274 of An American Werewolf in New Jersey. I am the American Werewolf. In the house tonight, we've got insert clever name here.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Yeah. It's good to see you. And here to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, we've got John K. Alvarez. He saw the whole thing. Witness number 5.
But you can't prove it.
Yeah, well, you got to take his word for it. But, there's always a catch. So, the divorce rate these days is up over 50%. These hoes ain't loyal out here these days, man. I'm telling you.
There you go.
That may be the best way to put it. These hoes just ain't loyal. And they'll turn on you in a second, looking for that exit plan. We're talking about unreliable narrators. We're talking about Akira Kurosawa's Rashomon. So if you're ready to go, shall we get it going?
Hit the button.
Boogie woogie. So is life a big pile of shit, or is it just, is there hope out there? Is there goodness out there? Is it that the despair is so much louder, bearing down on you, that it becomes easy to overlook the good things? I'm convinced in this film that the third person hiding out in the rain is actually a demon, because he just does nothing but mock and cajole and just sort of stick his finger in everybody's wound, constantly with the the message that, if you're not selfish, if you're not a piece of shit, if you don't do it to the other guy, they're going to do it to you first.
Mm-hmm. There is that.
There is that. He just sort of ramps up the despair. It's just not a person that, you would want. And then he just sort of disappears. He just kind of fills the place with despair, makes it 10 times worse, and then he just kind of leaves. As we attempt to sort out what is actually true in this story. 4 different versions of the same story, a rape, a murder. Who is actually telling the truth? Let me start out with insert clever name here. What did you think of Rashomon, which is available? Before you get started, this is available on HBO Max. but it's also available for free on Plex if you don't have that subscription service. So you can watch it for free. I would advise that you do. What did you think of the film?
I enjoyed it very much. I keep getting pulled into these discussions of movies that I am ill prepared to talk about. I'll say it once again, I'm not big on samurai movies, and until you started forcing me to watch them, I hadn't really sat down and watched the Kurosawa movies, although I'm entirely glad that you are doing it, because it's one of those things that I've always said, yeah, I'll get to it, and never did. And this movie was fantastic. I enjoyed it very much. Trying to figure it out. I don't understand it. I'm like the guy with the scraggly beard at the beginning. I just don't understand it. I know what happened. I get the plot, but there was some very, very interesting things going on in it, and I keep getting pulled into larger themes, considering that it came out in 1950. So it seems like one of those movies where, all of Japan's psyche is trying to sort out what just happened to them 5 years previous. In the same way Godzilla did that, but this one was done, on a shoestring budget. Essentially, it's a play or a drawing room discussion piece. And, is very, very well done. I mean, the use of natural light and shadows, beautiful. Cinematography, beautiful. The shots are great. The acting was a little cringy and over the top, although that might have been the style or at the time. But I really enjoyed the movie overall. It was a very pleasing watch.
Okay. Witness number 5 for the defense, for the prosecution. What did you think?
I agree with everything that Sir Sebastian says. That's the most clever name I can think of. When I first saw it and started getting into it, and I was lucky enough to watch it twice before we got here, this reminds me the closest to an absurdist play.
Yeah.
Only because the absurdist play questions why most of the time. And that's the question, I think, that was not just going on with the people on the screen, but was going in my head. Why would they act this way? Or why was that their moral compass? And that really kept bringing me back to it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like a Pinter play or a Bertolt Brecht, like Waiting for Godot.
Yep, that's the movie.
That type of that feeling. And as opposed to some of those plays that when I first saw them when I was in college and found them to be a little trite and boring until I got older, I was lucky enough to see this film at the age of 60 and go, man, I've asked these questions too. I think the person that came running in who was asking the questions, to build off of what Michael was kind of saying, I don't know if that's a demon or if that's a representation of us, the world. Do we know people that would poke and prod that when they're or laughing at the situation at other people?
Yeah, playing devil's advocate, I've never done that.
I've known some people and have seen some people, and it's kind of sad, really. And hopefully, I was never one of them. Type deal. That's the things that I found myself questioning. That, and I thought it was brilliantly shot.
Yeah,
I love the fact that a man who's been known for doing samurai movies, a lot of these people couldn't handle a sword in some situations. I love that. It made these characters, even though they were kind of over the top or in some cases larger than life, in one situation, they were the most real I've ever seen. Like real people. And I love that. I truly did.
It is the furthest thing from an action movie that you can find. You have this idea that everybody lies, and I think that's absolutely true. In that everybody lies. Nobody is. And we talk about this. Not necessarily in a fault finding way, because you would say, well, if you were absolutely honest with everybody, everybody would kill everybody. So that's not going to work. So you have to sort of obfuscate or gauge what you say, but there's also the idea that people even lie to themselves. So there's just this subjectivity that permeates throughout all four versions of this story. You're never even exactly sure, well, what is the true version of this. And so we understand this is based on two stories from Ryūnosuke Akutagawa, who wrote Rashomon and In the Grove, both of which are in the Inner Grove, both of which are part of this. It was written like 100 years ago. The author, I think, ended up taking his own life. So, just somebody, I guess, who was very heartfelt about maybe despair or existentialism or, what was, what exactly is true. But for the purposes of this discussion, we have a rape and a murder seen through the lens of four different stories, four different versions of the same thing. And in the same way that we would play that drinking game in college where, you would, whisper in somebody's ear, and then by the time we went all the way around in the circle and got back to you, it was completely different. That's what we're dealing with here. And it's a tough story. You've got Toshiro Mifune, who plays the bandit, who is essentially descending on these people in the woods, a husband and a wife. And some things are, just universally true. He rapes the wife. Mifune, I know initially, I think somebody said the acting was a little over the top, and I thought that when I watched it with Mifune's performance as the bandit. But then I thought this guy's just more like a fucking werewolf. Like he's just, hideous, like, kind of almost like, just kind of waiting to pounce on like this low-level predator, and who the fuck just hangs out in the forest waiting to pounce on somebody, and that's what he does. And he manages to tie up the husband and he rapes the wife. And then, through one, depending on which version you believe, the husband ends up dying and, he ends up being captured and he seems largely unrepentant. And you're sort of stuck sorting through this series of versions, whether it's, the bandit's version or the woman's version, the raped woman's version, or, there's one bystander who, sort of didn't admit that he saw anything and gives you his account. And then the husband who sort of gives this account almost through a medium. And you're not exactly sure it's fucking true, even by the fourth time you see it, except that each story is shittier. Every version seems to be shittier every time. You seem to get closer to the truth. And by the time this movie is less than 90 minutes long, but until the last 5 minutes of the film, you're just like, this is fun.
I did like the fact that when the thief, the wife, and the nobleman were telling their stories, even when like the thief or the bandit was, telling his story and he was the villain, he made himself look more like the hero. He was the great sword fighter. And, and when the nobleman took his own life, it was because of honor. And when and it wasn't until the fourth guy came in, you realized, no, they're all just normal. They're all, pathetic type deal. And I love that. I thought that was such a unique, well, not unique, but a great way to tell the story.
It was interesting, the last version of the story, both the nobleman and the bandit, their hands are shaking when they're fighting because neither of them want to do this and they're both afraid. That was really interesting. But I like the bandit's version where, I was just chilling in the forest. I didn't do nothing. I was just sitting there. I'm in. I was just hanging out.
My buddy brought me a pretty woman.
It's
the only guilty man in Shawshank. He's just, it just happened. And I love how the woman responds to him. He's raping her, but she responds, and all of a sudden her arm comes up behind and like, starts embracing him because he's just such a badass. She's just so turned on about, and you're like, okay, you can tell right away this is bullshit. It's like the first round of interrogations in NYPD Blue, where the guy's lying to Sipowicz before he starts smacking him around or something like that. You get to the second version, and it is just, it's all sad, and she gets raped, and then the husband rejects her. She can just see the contempt, and so she blacks out, in her trauma, and ends up stabbing him with this dagger.
After she was like a badass and went after the thief with her little knife, because she was the hero and didn't do nothing wrong. That's she all of a sudden, I blacked out. I did.
Is that a thing though? I mean, are we all the hero in our own narrative?
Yeah,
in recent. Let me just, and then I'll let everybody in. I just want to say this quick thing. I mean, in recent times, I guess from the millennials on down, like self-loathing has become like the catchy thing, and maybe it was self-deprecation in our time, but now it's moved on to self-loathing. Depending on who you talk to, but. Everybody from their own perspective thinks they're right. Go ahead.
I mean, Napoleon once said, history is told by the victors.
Yeah.
Type deal. And there was another person who turned around. I'm trying to remember who it was, who said, every person's a hero in their own story, even if they're the villain, And that's something that I really do think that was presented here. The outside person who didn't, the woodcutter, I guess, or the tradesman, when he saw what was going on, even though he was afraid to speak, I would assume that was the more accurate story, because he had nothing to gain. I mean, he really didn't even testify for it, so he just told what he saw. Which is ironic, because that's when the one guy said, "I don't believe you." That couldn't have happened.
Bill, did you want to say something?
No.
I was
up to it, but it's not the moment.
I was just going to say, we kind of rationalize the things that we do.
Yes.
We all just kind of rationalize, whatever it is, we had a good reason, or we couldn't help it, or... it doesn't get to the point where, we're doing these sorts of things. But by the time you get to the third story, she's clearly, trading. We get to because, in the first one, she's just like, look, one of you have to die. There's always the hint throughout each sort of telling that she is maybe that they're all doing something wrong. The husband is the world's dumbest husband, following Mifune into the woods for some free swords. Right. Right. Who the fuck does that? Okay, that doesn't even make any sense. She ends up getting raped, and then she decides that one of them has to die. She can't.
If we're to believe that she wanted to trade up the whole time, then you have to read into that there's a whole litany of things wrong with the husband.
Right.
Because, and ultimately, by the time we get to that story at the end, she's been looking for an exit for a long time.
Right.
She's been looking for an exit for a long time, and she is so craven that being attacked by somebody in the woods is preferable to being with her husband.
Right.
And
when you get to the point where all four stories, are bullshit. All four stories, the one telling it's trying to make themselves out to be the least culpable. But you do know that the real story is a mix of all four. Just it has to be. Even the woodcutter's version is not 100% accurate because he's just an innocent guy watching this thing from afar. He doesn't know the ins and outs the way that we find out about it.
Is it? I mean, it just seems like it would, in the way that things reverse in the final story, where she turns the tide, against both of them by questioning. She pushes that button, questioning their manhood.
Yep.
Right.
And to the point that they're just so gullible for it. This one man, supposedly a notorious killer and a bandit. The other man, the trained samurai. But it almost reminded me of Ran and that woman in Ran who just used her femininity to like control everybody. She ended up like burning the whole fucking house down. Burning the whole family to the ground, like out of revenge, just by pushing everybody's buttons. You didn't need to be physically strong. You just needed to be able to, it's almost like a Jenga game. You needed to pull the right piece and then just wait for the rest of it to fall apart. Because, I don't know, maybe I've just reached that age, but like it occurred to me in the fourth story, like when she just played her hand, if both of them either had just, we're both just going to fucking kill this bitch, or... they just decide to walk away.
Right.
And just leave her there. But they can't do it.
Right.
I don't know if it's pride, like she's touched their pride, like with a capital P, kind of pride, or what do you guys think?
Well, it's an honor-bound society. They can't really walk away when they're challenged. It's not like being a 21st century American where we're used to doing that. Especially, 1950, and again with the grand themes of post World War II, it's almost like a condemnation of the society that pushed, the rape of Man King and the campaigns in Russia and China, to the point where, holy shit, someone's going to come all the way back at us with a nuclear weapon because we are the bad guys.
And she even turns around at one point and says, "Who am I to choose? I'm just a woman."
Right.
You're the men.
Yes.
You're supposed. I mean, she really. There was a sense of like a Lady Macbeth, the power behind men, putting them against each other, because even when they first looked at each other after she said it, there wasn't a stare down, but eventually you saw them start puffing their chest up a little. I think she really did prick that nerve of saying, you choose. I'll go with either one of you.
Yeah, and the shaky hands. Neither of them really wanted to do it. Neither of them really wanted to die, especially not over this lady. So it was a weird thing.
I remember. Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say real quick. She had more agency than it initially led on. That they initially led on about, in her, because it seemed like there was this accepted role, and she's physically weaker. So, Mifune kind of overpowers her, but her strength was in another place. And once she got a chance to play that card, she turned out to be stronger than both of them, maybe.
Right. And remember that her own story about herself, she puts herself in the position of a warrior with the knife and fighting. So even if that didn't happen, in her mind, she's seeing herself as, the one who is fighting the noble fight. So triggering those two to fight each other through her feminine wiles is her, her warrior stance and her power.
She kind of reminds me because, I remember growing up, and there was a friend of mine in high school. He had a girlfriend, and I don't want to sound like I'm picking on women, so my apologies. But he got into more fights. He got more fights his junior. He got more fights his junior year in high school when she said, "Oh, you're just going to let that guy get away with that?"
Oh,
when the whole thing was de-escalated, and I'm going, "What are you doing?"
You go in your Twitter feed for 5 minutes and you'll find 100 stories like that.
Right.
Where women are like goading, nowadays they just walk up and like slap guys in the face. depending on who the guy is depending on what kind of response you're going to get, you know, but it's always that pricking, you know, and they're fuck you, you know, you fucking, you know, blah, you're a piece of blah, you're a, you know, this and that, and, you know, all this, you know, they're just like, it's just this attack, you know, and, you know, depending on who a lot of guys just sort of stake it. A lot of guys, you know, some guys don't, you know, and it turns out, you know, a different kind of way. But yeah, it's a different kind of assault. And I think it does come down to an assault on their pride, on a man's pride. Hold on.
Wow.
No, well, I mean,
I agree with you. It's like, wow.
No,
shit.
Can you, I mean, can you have justice if you can't have an agreement on what is true?
Yeah. The coolest part that I kept noticing is that every time someone was telling their story, they were in the shade. They were in the dark, and the two guys, the priest and the woodcutter, are sitting there in the light as if, like, you know, they're innocent. The people who are telling their story are going to this dark side. I mean, he uses shadow and light really well to sort of set the stage for, you know, what's going on. And then, you know, all four stories are set in the woods with the mix of light and dark and light and dark across their faces, across every scene. And the only time people are considering, you know, are we getting it right, is when they're sitting there with no light and it's all rain, sort of washing the lies away. It was a very clever way of telling the story visually.
And I love that when they were in the court or for the tribunal, it's out in the sun.
Yeah.
There's absolutely
the light of day. Yeah.
The light of day. I mean, the way the storytelling was set up, because I have to admit, in the beginning, when I first saw them running through the woods, or when the bandit was running through the woods at the time and pushing through, I was getting a little annoyed until I realized, oh wait, this is, you know, trying to make the discovery. Yeah, I loved that. That was actually a nice touch.
But what was up with the sweating, though?
I noticed that there was a lot of sweating, and they weren't sweating, and
there's a shit ton of sweating. They couldn't figure out what that meant.
It's well, I think it means that nobody's telling the truth.
Yeah,
I think it means that everybody's got their spin on this, you know. And I think Bill's got an interesting point too, in that, you know, we're in post World War II Japan. Right. This was not a big hit in Japan, and it wouldn't surprise me necessarily if Japan wasn't quite ready to look themselves in the face. You know, about what had happened during the war, whereas maybe 4 years later, the Godzilla thing is kind of an attack on Japan, so you could see why, you know, it presents the plight of the Japanese people in a more sympathetic light. This is not a sympathetic portrayal of almost anyone, even the woodcutter. You know, it's kind of cowardly because he has what we perceive to be as close to the truth as possible, but he doesn't have the courage to step forward and speak about it.
Yes.
Right. You know, he's like that one guy you didn't see, Akira, the one guy who knows what the truth is. I covered this on a pre-recorded video. And he knows what the truth is, and he stands up because he's so fucking outraged. And everybody just looks at him like, "Really, motherfucker? You're going to be the one to, you know, upset the apple cart?" And he ends up just sitting down.
Yep.
Right.
You know, everybody he's the one guy, and I think maybe that's why the third person that I think is kind of a demon just kind of smacks him, you know, because it's just contempt, you know, and it is contemptible. It is contemptible. Yeah. So, you know, this was a big hit overseas, but not a big hit in Japan. I could see why people wouldn't, you know, they want to see heroic things. They want things to feel good about. They have enough to feel shitty about as it is, you know, and
all of us no. Yeah. There's no way in the post-war experience that we would have had some self-incriminating movie about World War II. Not until, you know, 20 years later, 30 years later. So, you know, even the U.S. was guilty of that. Even though we were the victor, you know, we had that same thing where everything had to be us as the heroes and pumping ourselves up. So, yeah, I would agree that no one in Japan would want to really watch this movie and sort of test themselves, because I think each one of the characters just represents a facet of Japanese society and their culpability with something bad happening.
Right. And that's why I think when the guy came in towards the end and he was laughing at the woodcutter.
Yeah, and the priest.
Who are you? You
knew
the
priest
truth.
too. You know, the priest.
Yeah, well, the priest was saying, I think this is hell, which I thought was a nice metaphor.
Mm-hmm.
But when he was saying that, when the demon was saying to the woodcutter, he was like, you know, who are you? You are, and he was laughing at him saying, you could have said something and you didn't. And I loved that because I don't think, I liked it as a storytelling, but I think in Japan, they didn't want to hear that.
Yeah.
That was too close to home. But I think Kurosawa said, no, you need to hear this now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if the woodcutter represents the common man or the peasant, or just the average Japanese,
Do you think this would have been better if they did have at the end a definitive truth?
No.
Or is it better, with things being foggy and uncertain?
No, if you had a definitive truth at the end, then it renders the rest of the movie superfluous.
That's what happens in most police procedurals. You get the guy who lies, and then they get to it at the end, and so the show goes on for however many seasons. Mm-hmm. And almost everything that you see, they usually get to the truth. Now I'm not saying that's bad necessarily, but maybe it is better sometimes when things are obfuscated a little bit.
Well, do you think that's what the baby represented at the end?
What do you mean?
The truth, being 5 years removed from the war, it's still young. And, it needs to be, and for lack of a better term, raised until we're able to accept it and understand it.
And interesting, it says I have 6 other children. What's one more?
Yeah, what's one more I could take? And even the other guy who came in from the audience, the demon, he wants to rob it.
Yes.
And the woodcutter is saying, no, leave it alone. Can't you see it? I wonder if that was a symbolism of the truth, because the truth is innocent.
Future.
As well.
Well, what does he rob him of? This fancy kimono that he was wrapped up in. It was
Well, it also has the amulet for protection.
Yeah.
There was an amulet on that kimono for protection. He just wants to steal it. It's a cheap thing. It means nothing. There's quite a bit of nihilism in this film.
Right.
There's no value in basic truth, then there's really not much value in anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially when something is as important as, taking someone's life, and you really can't get to the bottom of it.
Right. And it's the common man who said, I'll take care of him.
Yeah.
It's
interesting that they're taking shelter in what is essentially a destroyed gate between two cities. So it's that was highly symbolic, and then the demon comes in and just starts throwing more wood on the fire.
Yeah. Yeah. And then when they start to get warm, he takes the fire and throws them into the water.
Oh God, that was such a great touch.
Fuck you. You're not going to be. No, there's not going to be any comfort. No, we're going to sit here in the rain. It's going to be cold. It's going to be damp. I'm not going to allow you to have. It's just such a small and petty thing. It reminded me of Nefarious when he cut the guy's final meal.
Yeah,
remember that? And he's just he switched in and said, no, I don't want anything. And then the guy comes back. What do you mean? No, sorry, you said you didn't want anything. It's just such a small, petty, cruel thing to do.
Yeah,
right.
Do we see these kinds of films nowadays? Can you think of anything?
Nothing as masterful as that.
No. Ridley Scott did an okay version of something called The Last Duel, which is about with Matt Damon and Adam Driver. And that's pretty good. It's about something that happens from 3 different perspectives. Do we see this in real life? I mean, I see it. I mean, anybody that watches the news looks at the same thing and sees it from at least 2 different perspectives.
Exactly.
Now, and like news agencies make their bread and butter on, I'm on this side of the fence, I'm on this side of the fence, I'm telling the truth. You can count on me to do so. Like,
Yeah.
That's kind of hellish.
Yeah, go back to the medium that gets the nobleman's perspective. I mean, fuck, that was pretty dark, and the whole perspective of I'm in hell. It's like something died and is in darkness now. It doesn't exist. It's not in the light. That was very interesting.
Yeah.
I thought that medium was extremely intense.
Oh,
that was the best scene of the movie, I thought. Shaking of the stick and like the contortions. I was like, yeah, this is right on.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah, that was something.
I like that.
Lots of the Rashomon. I mean, the Rashomon effect is an everyday thing. As much as it may be a rarity in cinema, clearly everybody have an argument with somebody. Right, Bill? When's the last time you had an argument with Chewie?
Yeah, today.
And who, the same thing, but you're both looking at it, I'm sure, from completely different, perspectives.
Obviously.
Or, arguing with your boss at work, arguing with your significant other, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your parents, your brother, your sister, whatever, your neighbor. It's an
guy sitting at the end of the bar.
Yeah.
Huh?
A guy sitting at the end of the bar.
Yeah. That's why
There's a couple of times I've been in like a local bar and someone starts talking at the news and you hear someone else chime in, and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, aren't you seeing this? Because you're both telling me two different things that I'm seeing. And they're just two different, I don't want to say two different perspectives, but yeah, they're like 3 or 4 different perspectives. We have multiple perspectives in this world.
I was thinking about that old saying today. I mean, I'll say, it's Lou Reed, but I know it's older than that, where you say, believe half of what you see and none of what you hear.
Yeah.
I today working, part-time as a custodian in my school district, there is rumor and gossip just going left, right, and center, and you have to not believe most of it because of the Rashomon effect. I know it's to be true because one building has a perspective, another building has another perspective, and no one really knows what's going on.
Well, I have a landlord who actually for years we lived together. We were romantically involved, and we had 2 different perspectives on life. But now she actually calls me up and says, I heard this story. Is it true? And I'm like, well, where'd you get it from? And she tells me like 3 different news sources, like NBC, Fox News, and something else. And she's like, and she's not too sure which is the truth. So, and it's strange.
It's good that she's comparing news sources. I would tell her to use Ground News. This is not, I don't get paid by Ground News. It's just a really good app.
Yeah. But she talks about it and she goes, I used to think I knew what the truth was.
Yes.
And she goes, and now I don't know.
I've had a couple people come to me over the years saying, I thought you were completely wrong about A, B, and C, but now I'm questioning, the narrative that was given to me over the years, and you might have been right about a thing or two. That's happened to me. That goal goes back to the Rashomon.
Yeah.
I also kept thinking about Usual Suspects. Kept popping in.
Sure. Usual Suspects, yeah.
But I'm a big fan of unreliable narrator stuff. It always intrigues me when you go, oh, how much of that was real? That's always that I enjoy in literature and in film.
Weren't you the one who said you were never sure if One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest had a reliable narrator as it applies to Nurse Ratched?
Yes.
You're never exactly sure if,
because the book is told from the chief's perspective, and that's unreliable because he's schizophrenic, and it goes into detail about how he's schizophrenic. and the movie's told from McMurphy's point of view, and he's not reliable.
Fight Club was another movie. Unreliable narrator.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely unreliable. You said Usual Suspects. What else? American Psycho. We covered American Psycho. Is Bateman actually a serial killer, or is he imagining all this shit? Because I mean, he's clearly mentally ill, but did he actually kill all these people? People, nobody even knows everybody's name. I mean, Russell, what was it? A Beautiful Mind. That was another one.
Yes.
That he was working against the Soviets, and the Sixth Sense. So I mean, there are lots of movies with unreliable narrators, but none of them, I don't think, that quite take it this far.
Showing the four different movies. It's a trope in cartoons a lot. I see it in cartoons, telling the four stories, and it's exaggerated, but I'm the hero in this version, you're the hero in that version. I've seen it, and when I finally saw Rashomon this week, I was like, oh, that's where that comes from.
75 years later. He's a one-of-a-kind director. One of a kind. There's rarely been a director that has this many home runs.
Right.
I think we'll do at least one more live stream before the summer ends. I think I'd like to close out the summer with Seven Samurai, probably his most well-known. And then I'll cover the rest of the period with other Kurosawa films that I want to cover on my own. I'll pick some of those out.
Yeah, now I get to go back to work in September, and my co-teacher is a big film buff, and I get to bring up Kurosawa with him now. So thank you.
Very nice. I'm actually thinking about in this fall working on. I'm still not 100%, but covering just Guillermo del Toro.
Oh, cool.
Covering Del Toro in the fall. There's a lot of good stuff out there, whether it's Kronos or it doesn't all have to be, Hellboy or that sort. Yeah, Pans. There's the Devil's Backbone, which I still think is the best ghost story of all time. Ghost film. So lots of good stuff out there. All right. Is there anything about this film that we have not discussed? Obviously, it's one of those things we really could go for hours talking about. If we wanted to break it down, that kind of way, we could. But is there any particular point that you have not addressed that you'd like to discuss?
No.
Okay.
No, I think we nailed it all. I mean, we could easily delve into it more, but I'm even pulling back on the reins because.
Well, I'm not going for a 3-hour show right now, so we don't have to. We don't have to beat the dead horse. We hit it all.
Yeah.
I think you get the main points in that. I think there's also is there a message here? Maybe this is the final question. Is there a subliminal message here that this sort of subjectivity leads to trouble?
Right.
That maybe there should be some sort of objective truth, because now, you hear it's relative, it's this and it's that, and just everything just becomes so, clouded and murky, and where is the clarity? So maybe within all this, subjectivity, maybe that's something we should be taking a hard look at, trying to minimize as much as is possible. Probably one of the best ways to stand on firm ground is to, as the old saying, tell the truth or at least don't lie.
Right.
Yeah.
If you can't tell the truth, because maybe you don't know what the truth is, but when you tell a lie.
Mark Twain turned around and said, if you never lie, you don't have to make sure you're covering something.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. You never have to remember what you said.
Yeah. And it was what was the other one? If you're a person who tells the truth, you're going to be very lonely.
Yeah, that too.
That was another thing. And I remember seeing it years ago and thought it was clever. I even have it on a T-shirt that a friend of mine gave me because I like Twain a lot. But he's true. If you actually stand there and speak the truth, I should say, or look for the truth, people sometimes don't want to hear. They kind of like. There's some people who like the narrative. You know,
there's comfort there. There's comfort there.
Yeah.
I get it. But look at, I mean, at the other extreme, rehabs and prisons are full of liars.
Yeah.
You know,
Look at
people
it.
that have lost their mind on fucking drugs, you know, or, you know, whatever it is that they did to get themselves. Go down to Rawway. You know, how many honest people are you going to find in, you know, or the county lockup, you know?
Didn't do nothing.
Didn't do nothing.
This kind of theme, the Shin Godzilla, it popped up in there a lot. That kind of theme of, you know, the truth is murky, so tell the truth kind of thing. Because the lies beget lies beget lies.
It's very true. It's very true.
I have a friend of mine who teaches theology now at NYU.
Oh, nice.
A guy from down here. He's now, it's funny because his nickname to me was D-Rock, but now they call him Reverend Doctor. And every time he sees me, I call him Reverend Dr. D-Rock, and he laughs. He hugs me. But he turned around and said, I can't believe I laughed when I first heard somebody say the term truthiness. You know, which was the Stephen Colbert, was the Stephen Colbert thing he used to do. And he goes, truthiness, where it sounds like the truth, so it should be. It was like his word of the day. And he goes, I laughed at that until I realized people took it seriously. And I went, oh, okay. There you go. I vote. I mean, I like that too. But
yeah, if there's an overall theme, if there's an overall message to the movie, it's just, you know, tread carefully because, you know, you don't know what the truth is, and we probably never will.
Yeah,
so
you have to trust in the inner goodness moving forward. That's the what the priests sort of
exactly.
And don't take your wife into the woods.
Yeah, not on a white horse, anyway.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
Don't get
all right, let's get to the part in the stream where we rate the film. This channel has a rating system that goes from 0 to 5 up by halves. So 0, 0.5, 1, 1.5, all the way to 5. So 0, for example, would be I'd rather piss my pants once a week than watch this film again, all the way to 5, which, only once a week. Which is, this is the journey, this is the destination, this is cinema, this is why I watch films in the first place. Insert clever name here. Woodcutter number 2. What would you give Akira Kurosawa's Rashomon?
Yeah, I'm gonna plead the fifth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm giving that one a 5, not only because of the respect for Kurosawa and all, but I genuinely loved this movie. The visuals, the themes. All right, so the acting's a little cringy. I'll forgive it, but that is, you know, produced on a shoestring budget. It's
$3,000.
Like some of the best indie filmmaking that I love through the 90s. I love this movie. I did not watch it looking for faults. I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed my discussion. I'm gonna give it a 5. It's cinema.
This movie was made on $40,000 budget.
Really?
Incredible. John K. Alvarez, witness number 5. What do you say? Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Cinco.
More than 4 and less than 6.
I keep finding if I could give it a higher, I would.
Yeah.
I keep finding myself, and I love this with any cinema. Even sitting here, I'm still questioning it. I'm thinking about it. I mean, I'm going to probably think about this when these cameras go off, type deal. It's lingering on me in a good way.
I completely understand. I'm going with 5.
Yeah.
I can't think of a reason not to go with 5. I think what I appreciate most were the last 5 minutes in the movie where the woodcutter brings a little hope. In the end, despite everything that he's seen, despite his own shortcomings, he doesn't fall into that trap of staying in that place. You know, that, you know, even a person who may have fallen short can still redeem themselves.
Right.
And how can I redeem myself? By helping others. Maybe I can protect the innocent, this innocent person. Maybe I can protect the future. Maybe I can, and if this, baby is a symbol of the future and the truth, then I can do what I can to raise it and to nurture it. I thought that may have been the most important part in the film. It's easy because, like I said, because of especially with that demon just bearing down all the time about what shit life is by definition. It would be easy to overlook the fact that in the end, the two men, both of them, do. And he says, it would be easy to be skeptical on a day like today. He goes, I apologize for what I just, because he draws the baby back when the woodcutter reaches for it. And he goes, I'm so sorry. He goes, I apologize. He goes, a day like today, it's understandable to be skeptical. And I think that was the best part of the film, just the last 5 minutes. So yeah, absolutely a 5. Absolutely. Insert club name here. Go plug something.
Have a happy Shark Week.
I've been enjoying it all week. John K. Alvarez, anything going on? Anything you need to plug?
Actually, I have an event, but I would like the next time that I get invited, I'd like to try to push it then. I'm physically trying to help save a living history museum.
Okay.
Because they ran into financial trouble.
Okay.
And quite literally, the curator and the lady who runs the place or owns the place that I've known since 1990 called me up within an hour and said, can you help? We're bringing in some of the old people to give us a hand. Well, when I find out more information about it, I'll be more than happy to share it. Also, it's the summer. Please do me a favor. I saw a bike accident. Kid not looking, going right through the intersection when a car went over, smashed on the windshield of a car. He was fine except like where he landed. Fortunately, the car was clear and the kid just hit the car. The car didn't hit the kid. But I didn't see. It's scary out there. Please be careful. That's all.
I hear you. I've seen a few accidents this summer, and yeah, luckily it didn't look like anybody was badly hurt, thank God. But the cars didn't look too great. So, by the grace of God, that sort of thing. Hold on a second. We had a couple of comments here, and I apologize. I got Abella U9. Hey, mate, I really love your stream and enjoy being part of your fan community. Thank you. Would you mind adding me up on Discord? My username is Snake Attack 5. All right.
Just for the name alone.
Yeah. Call me Snake. Cheap views on Stream Boo Live. Okay. Self-imposed. Okay. Well, I think I got spammed a little bit there. For this channel, there was a little bit of a break here because I've been busy with work and I've been trying to enjoy the summer, although every fucking weekend is just shitty for the weather. Like I'm trying to get down to the beach and it's a beautiful day like today, 80 degrees, nice and sunny. And then you get to the weekend and it turns to shit. So I'm going to be getting back into more Kurosawa. I think the next one that I'm going to cover is going to be Redbeard. And Redbeard is just a fantastic film that I love by him. You could always cover the Sanjuros and the Jimbos, but everybody talks about those. And Redbeard is the story of a doctor, a young man who comes from a rich family, and he gets a sort of ceremonial position. He thinks he's going to land as like a physician to the shogun. But what he ends up doing, he ends up pissing this man off because I think he got a little frisky with his daughter. So he whispers in the shogun's ear, and he ends up getting sent down into this community of untouchables, where the poorest of the poor. And the man who's been the doctor there for 30 years is Toshiro Mifune. It's an older Kurosawa film, and he actually learns a bit about being a human being and not just a spoiled rich asshole. So I think that's next on the viewing roster. So my thanks to insert clever name here. Thank you very much. I'll be in touch with you guys in a day or so, later on, and I'll let you know probably when we'll do Seven Samurai. Hopefully, we'll get some people on for that. And my thanks for John K. Alvarez, witness number 5. And as we close out, just remember to tell the truth, or at least don't lie. Okay, that's it for us here, everybody. Have a good one. God bless you. We'll see you in the next one. All the best.
Peace.
Hey, everybody. This is the American Werewolf. Thanks for stopping by. Like the video, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel.